Note: the audio portions may not correspond with the text on screen. These changes were made due to the text-to-speech software incapable of pronouncing some of the words.
There was once a little squirrel who was dubbed Nut-eating Baby of the Woods, who presented himself by the name of Nottingham. All he wanted was to adventure, and one faithful day, his wish was granted. As his journey went on, he wanted to retell his adventures to his family when he would return, for he envisioned great things in his future. However, he knew not when he would return, nor if he even could. Along his travels, he met companions that knew the art of reading and writing. When they displayed to Nottingham the idea of a written language, he made the decision to learn how to write so that he may create a journal recounting his exploits. He one day wished that this journal may be shared with his family should he never have the chance to step foot on his little village again. In the end, the journal was so grand and complex, it would take years to read it all. The language he used had no marks of punctuations, no set standard of grammar, no spaces, nor were the words orderly. The entire parchment was nothing but glyphs. This great tale of his, it took Nottingham 1 billion glyphs to tell it all. Like a colossal hand about to crush all it would grab, the evil demon's castle, floating high above in castles in the sky, shone like a threat. The overlord who has rested in this castle for over a millennium, soars the vast sea of stars, conquering planets, subjugating their people, and claiming the vast cosmos as his own. On this very special day, however, the tranquility of castles in the sky would be shattered. For the first time in a million years, since the last adventurer who has been lost to the tides of time, who has been erased by the Overlord's will, who has now never existed for there is no one to remember him or her, a new challenger has set foot on the quiet grounds of the demon's castle perimeter. Yes, it was the least likely of heroes who has managed to survive the many onslaughts of the Overlord's attempts to vanquish him thanks to the young lad's cunning, strength, and determination. It is none other than Nottingham the squirrel. The young squirrel, with nothing but his cap and vest, has managed to conquer all adversities, defeat all legion thrown at him, overcome all obstacles that blocked his journey, and has travelled for years on end, exploring new and exciting worlds. For all these efforts, he has finally reached castles in the sky to challenge the evil overlord. But this journey could not be possible without his comrades. Fortunate, he has recruited many friends, and thanks to their help, he has managed to amass a small band of adventurers to help him reach this final destination. The Overlord's anger has reached its apex as he can no longer tolerate the rambunctious squirrel and his friends. He is overwhelmed by the fact that he has been bested by a mere animal when he has conquered many stars. To this, he responds by having a no-holds-barred final bout and sends all of his minions after the daredevils who have defied him time and time again. His elf army, amongst other creatures, adds up to immeasurable numbers and are now targeting Nottingham and his team. All orders are to destroy or be destroyed. Nottingham and his remaining 4 comrades' offense include Nottingham's supernatural strength, his sharpshooting friend's arrow pistol, the many knives of his second protege, and the fire and lightning magic of the 2 young sorcerers. The rest of the force were left behind to protect the home planet from further problems by the late king's influences, as his followers were now under the command of the Overlord, and thus were fighting to reclaim the planet. The great team that Nottingham has assembled has been split, with the majority leading the great revolution to reclaim the home planet from the demons who have taken it 100 years ago. Nottingham and his 4 remaining friends decided to proceed towards castles in the sky, meaning they have to either fight off the army by themselves and reach the Overlord, or wait it out until their allies come to their aid. He knew, however, that time was not on his side. Nottingham and crew are a few miles away from the demon's castle and are being chased by a small entourage of the Overlord's army. The small army that is chasing them is composed of 140,000 foot soldiers, and it's important to note that this isn't even close to being a quarter of the entire force. As our heroes run for their goal, a voice shouts behind them, "Hurry!" After them. They are approaching the castle of the Overlord. That rasped and burly voice, it is the general with the blade, the most skilled of the Overlord's sword fighters, though for this occasion, he has acquired a comet gun, which is peculiar considering his skills with a blade cannot be matched. He continues to march on along with his crew to capture the very troublemakers that have been causing him problems since the campaign to capture the card began. After all these years, he has never managed to cut off a bit of the red fur from that rambunctious young squirrel, so now he wants to finish him off before they reach the castle, for his pride is on the line. "Don't waddle about," he screams to his minions. "Should they reach the castle, it'll be your heads on a mantle. They have grown powerful over time. Who knows what they can accomplish should they get close to the Overlord. This is our last chance to defeat them. Any skill on you should be unleashed upon them. Hold nothing back and use any weapon at your disposal. Use any means to apprehend them, even if you have to kill them." The giant roar of the coup that stretches for miles echoes throughout all of castles in the sky. Nottingham's ears do not listen, nor does he turn around to look at the massive army, as his priorities have overcome his senses. "Looks like they got their entire force on our tails," says the knife wielder. "Quit looking back," replies Nottingham, "just keep running." He suddenly abruptly stops, for a pit suddenly appears in front of him, which he did not notice. Whoa! That was close. He regained his composure, however, his magical companions on their broomsticks slam against Nottingham and the two proteges. Luckily enough, the two magical ones were flying at such a rapid pace that they launched our heroes to the other side of the pit. "Are you guys okay?" asks the boy as he gets up. "Yeah. Don't worry about it," answers Nottingham, but then he exclaims, "Oh no." Nottingham looked behind him with wide eyes. "Guys, get up. We gotta move, and we gotta move now." But there was no need for a warning, as a barrage of comets from the general's comet gun were being fired at an alarming rate. Nottingham screamed as he and his foot companions ran for cover behind a giant rock, while the two young sorcerers flew off on their broomsticks to safety. "They're over the pit," says the general to his minions. "Go and get them." The stupid soldiers started tripping each other, trying to get a good jump onto the other side, as they kept falling down the pit one by one. "You stupid idiots. Jump over it." Over at the other side, the sharpshooter asks, "Why did they stop shooting?" "I don't know," replies Nottingham, "but let's keep going before they start again." They continue their progress, and the sharpshooter notices something in the distance. "Look everyone. Right in front of us, a mere distance away. It's the demon's castle." Off in the distance, now clear as day, a blue castle, old and ancient, stands just a few yards away. "That's the demon's castle?" asks Nottingham. "I thought it'd be bigger than that." "Well, that doesn't matter. Come on guys. Our long adventure is almost over. Let's go get that Overlord." Upon seeing the castle, Nottingham's determination is now as high as the skies they are on. After the giant trek of years, venturing and traveling through the stars, the many friends he has made, the many enemies he has championed, the mornings of waking up for more adventures to come, Nottingham is now witnessing the final destination. The end of the adventure that he so craved all those years ago. A scream is heard. It was the knife wielder who has been shot by a comet. It was that nefarious blade general with his comet gun, standing on top of a boulder a few feet away. "This is as far as you go," he proclaims with his finger on the trigger. "Off with you." A feeling of dread fills the air as the unexpected attack from the general was not anticipated. Had seeing the castle and his thoughts of the end of the adventure caused this? Did he left his guard down enough that his companion ended up getting injured? Well, it didn't matter how it happened because the general had his comet gun pointed at our heroes and he was not hesitant to pull the trigger. Is this it? Is this the end of the adventure? All of this happened so fast but there was no time to react. The trigger was pulled. Ha! The general was puzzled. The sharpshooter wasted no time as he pulled out his arrow pistol and cocked it. "Oh no," said the blade general as he only now realized that his gun was out of ammunition. Without waiting a second, the sharpshooter started pulling the trigger on his gun and blasting off a couple of rounds. The blade general quickly pulled out his sword and started swinging it with his mighty speed. The arrows flew fast but the sword was just as quick as it blocked all the arrows that were shot. "I hate to admit it," said the general, "but your skills with a pistol outdo mine. I'll praise you for that." The general lunged his comet gun into the air and with his sword sliced the gun in half with each piece flying on opposite ends. "That is why I will fight you with the skill I happen to have mastered. Come at me with everything you got." The sharpshooter was neither amazed nor threatened by the general, yet it was foolhardy to underestimate him all the same, so the sharpshooter kept his defensive posture, awaiting anything that could happen. And so it did, as out of nowhere, the general was shocked by electricity. He gave out a painful cry as he fell from the top of the boulder he was on. With a mighty thump, the general landed on the rocky floor and when he sat up he said, "Who did that?" Out from the skies, the two little sorcerers landed their brooms and were now standing in front of him. "You little brats! You dare oppose me? Fine. I'll enjoy cutting you to pieces." He got up to his feet, ready to deal with the young ones, but the sharpshooter takes this chance to give him another shot, which the general quickly parries. The general turns to the sharpshooter and says, "You still here?" The sharpshooter demands, "What have you done to my friend?" "He's probably dead. I charged up the comet gun to full blast on the last shot." "No. That's not true." "It won't matter if it's true or not because you're next. I'll cut you down along with these pipsqueaks." "You can't take us all on at once." "Oh really?" As he was saying this, his sword was already midway to creating an air-slash attack. However, our heroes were quick to react as they noticed and proceeded to attack just as quickly. The sharpshooter shot his arrows while the sorcerers shot lightning and fire from their broomsticks, but neither party retained damage as the general not only had complete control of his sword but he knew how to control the speed, and to top it all, the sword was so fast it was not visible to the untrained eye. Our heroes have dealt with this foe many times before, so they knew all his tricks. They were not the same as when they first met, so they kept attacking without pause against the brevity of the openings the sword would allow. They've encountered the sword too many times to count and had accustomed to the general's speed, which the general never thought of improving. This battle was a stalemate at best as the two parties exchanged blow after blow that hit nothing but the rocks all around. Unbeknownst to them, Nottingham had managed to carry the injured blade wielder to a clearing away from the fighting, but no distance was innocuous, for the arrows that recoiled from the fight reached them. There is no safe spot in this final journey. "Hey!" says Nottingham, "are you all right? Speak to me." The injured knife wielder struggles but responds, "No, I am not. That shot was too much for me. I can't even get up. Go on without me. I'll just slow you down." But, answers back Nottingham, unsure of what to do. The fight with the sharpshooter and sorcerers against the general continued to rage, but dealing with three opponents at once has started wearing down the general because, even though his speed with his sword was incredibly fast, it required a lot of stamina. The fighting stops for a brief moment. The general begins to pant. Huff, huff. Where are my men? He screams, why have they not come to help me? The sorcerer girl responds, we took care of those guys after you got impatient and decided to go ahead of them. Those worthless worms. What good are they for? The general was showing signs of fatigue and he knew he couldn't keep this mad pace for much longer. Getting tired. He taunts, ha ha ha. Well, so am I, so how about suddenly, out of the clear sky, a giant boulder lunges into the air and smacks the general on top of his helmet. The sorcerers and the sharpshooter take this chance to run away, for they had another problem that had higher precedence. The general sliced the boulder in half as it was bouncing off his helmet and nearly cut the girl sorcerer as she was passing by at blazing speed. Hey! Come back here! The general screams. Just then he hears footsteps. He turns around and sees his men, who apparently have finally managed to climb out of the pit. Oh, for the love of... Running as fast as he could, the sharpshooter jumped over a rock formation to arrive where his partner was. The sorcerers joined in shortly on their brooms. Nottingham? Asked the sharpshooter in an urgent manner, is he all right? Yeah, answers Nottingham, but he's seriously hurt. He needs some serious help. Quick! Call the ship and tell him to pick him up. But what about the bad guys? We'll cover you before the cruiser comes. Okay. Nottingham quickly grabbed his communicator and contacted the spaceship. This is Nottingham. This is an emergency. Beyond the skies of the demon's castle, roaming about in case of situations like these, the spaceship that provided transport for our heroes was waiting above. Because it did not have any form of offensive features, it was not allowed to get close, but for such an occasion, it was prepared to enter the fray if it needed to. What's going on? The pilot answered. We got a man down and he's severely hurt. Get down here as fast as you can. All right. I'm setting a course towards your location. Just then, a giant explosion was heard, followed by the ship rattling like mad. Whoa! What's happening? Asked Nottingham. On the outside of the ship, cloud demons were using their lightning attacks on the spaceship. I'm being under attack. I'm having difficulties getting past them. We'll get through them somehow. Nottingham replied while carrying his injured comrade between his back and big bushy tail, running away from the force behind their backs. The stupid soldiers who fell down the pit have finally caught up to our adventurers and were giving chase. This would come to a complete stop, however, as all parties halted, for in front of our heroes stood the famed general. On the next chapter of the Billion Glyph journey, our heroes are in a real dire situation. Not only do they have an injured friend amongst them, they have to deal with a general who can conjure up flames from his body. When Nottingham stands up to this fiend, he ends up becoming his next victim. In order to save the young squirrel's life, his sharpshooting friend decides to give in to the enemy. Are our heroes at their wits' end? Has the journey already ended in their defeat? Find out in the next exciting installment of The Adventure Written in a Billion Glyphs.